Boom. All right, real quick. Don't have a lot of time. All I want to showcase here is I have two files. I have an HTML file and I have a JavaScript file. So I'm just going to showcase the very bare bones minimum requirement of what's expected of us for JavaScript in our HTML and CSS files. So all I did was I did my HTML commands. I did my boilerplate. I'm not going to hit that again because it's just going to do the same thing. But I have my boilerplate. I have my head. I'm linking my CSS sheet, but the important thing is I'm linking my JavaScript sheet. So where is this? If we look on the left side, I'm currently in example HTML. So all I'm doing is I'm going to example.js right here. And so what I did was I dragged this file over to this side, and you can see it kind of highlights, and now I have it over here, so we have the split view. So in our body, we have a button. And so with DOM, we have access to this attribute called onClick. This is perfect for buttons. If you want to use a button, always use onClick. This is what you want to use. And so in here we have a function, but let's not get into that right now. We have an ID, which actually doesn't pertain to this demo. But if we look at this image, we can see that it's very, very long, but I gave it a class. I typed this in, blue E. So if we come over here, we can see I've declared a variable in JavaScript just like you would declare a variable any other way. So if I wanted an array, I could do an array with 1, 2, 3, 4, right? I could do variable object is equal to this obj, comma, right? So on and so forth. This is JavaScript, right? So the same way you would declare these variables in JavaScript, you use these DOM methods. So I say, give me a variable. This could also be let. Really doesn't matter in this context. Whatever name you give it. Now, document is referring to your HTML page. The reason it knows it's an HTML page is because we're already importing it right here. So when we load this page, this will be the last thing the computer runs, is this script tag, which will actually run our JavaScript. So over here we say document, our HTML page, get elements by class name. Now, if this was get elements by ID, we wouldn't need to do this, but since it's elements by class name, we have to pass in a 0. Now, to showcase what I'm talking about, I'll do document.getElementBy, and you can see right here it's document.getElementById. This is a singular object, so I can erase this because we're not returning an array. But for the example really quick, I already have it set to a class, so I will go ahead and access the 0 index that this function is returning. So what I did was the computer will run this document.getElements by class name, and that will return an array. And so knowing that, I can simply just pass in bracket notation, the same way we access indices and arrays and objects, keys and objects. This is bracket notation. All I'm doing is just shortcutting and saying, I just want to grab this singular object the very first instance you find it. So what we can do real quick is console log single image, make sure we're getting that. The puppy. Let's go to the console. So here's our single image. We are getting it. We have hello and haha, which is up here. Let's comment that out just to show you guys this is actually changing in real time. So now those are gone, right? This is reading my JavaScript. So this is literally what I just typed in right here. I have my image. Let's scroll over a little bit. This is a very long URL. But the class I gave it, I wrote this, class equals bluey. I can just say right here, just grab that element. I console logged it. We have the same thing right here. And then all I'm doing is, this actually isn't even pertinent. I'm declaring a function. I gave it the name blah blah, because again, it does not matter. It doesn't need parameters, but if it had parameters, this is where you would declare them. This is how you would set default parameters. Just to showcase this doesn't break anything. I don't actually use any of those, so they were just ignored. We don't need to pass in anything here. Don't need to worry about that. We're just saying we have a function. It's called blah blah. Doesn't need anything to run. And then we open our braces. So then what I do is I take this variable, which I declared up here. Same thing, no tricks. Single image, single image. Now knowing DOM, I know I can grab this source attribute, but if you didn't know DOM, you could literally come here and just hit dot, and now we have access to every single attribute. Now, this might be cumbersome, right? But if you were to scroll through all of these, eventually you would end up being able to hit the SRC. I probably passed it because now we're in the A's, but we'll go all the way back around. SRC. Doesn't have it. Set attribute. I guess this is something you would just have to know from DOM. Sometimes your IDE doesn't know exactly what you're trying to do. It's helpful and it gives you suggestions, but I think I know that I can just type in SRC from experience. I don't really have a lot to say other than that. If we type in DOM SRC, we get this DOM manipulation. So this is something you could Google, right? Like if you're like, how the heck did he do that? DOM, document object manipulation, document object, whatever the other M thing is, SRC. We get to the same place, right? So unfortunately, our IDE didn't know what we were talking about, but we know JavaScript and we have this example to go off of. So all I do is I have this HTML element that on click runs that same function, but in our JavaScript, it's going to grab that same element that we console log, and it's going to set the SRC attribute, this long string that's generating that image, and it's going to erase it. It's just going to replace it with an empty string. So these are both saved. I don't have any circles on either of these. If we come over to this page, we get this big blown up puppy. Big, and we'll refresh, and my button is missing. Why? Oh, thank you. So here's the button. If I click on it, it's gone because we were able to use JavaScript to console log that image and then take that SRC attribute and change it to an erased value. So again, here, SRC is equal to this long string, but thanks to my JavaScript, I can just go ahead and click on this simple button, and now I erase that. So just to show you guys what this looks like, let me delete all of these. This is all you need. 5 lines of code. Right? Now, this is a very basic example. Maybe you don't want to just erase your image when it's clicked on, right? But this is basically what you need in order to accomplish the criteria specified by Melissa, is to just simply have it so that you just have one thing, you click on it, it changes the color of some text, it shows maybe a different image. So instead of having an empty source, let's do another puppy picture real quick. This is easy. Puppy picture. Little kind of sad looking Labrador, I guess. Let's throw that in there. So I saved that. I did that kind of quick again. The way you can tell I saved it, there's no circle. But when I refresh this page, we get this puppy. Now I click on it. Boom. That's JavaScript. That's not HTML. I did not change my HTML. This still says to load this picture when I load this HTML file. And every single time I refresh this, the HTML is going to load that page. I do not have a single reference to this other page, this other picture in my HTML. That's how we know it's JavaScript, right? Because I'm not actually saying in the HTML, hey, go to this spot, generate this image, so on and so forth. I'm literally using JavaScript to say, when this button is clicked, run this function. So I'm saying, hey, HTML, give me this element, blue E. I just want that first one. I'll console log it to make sure I'm getting the right one. So if we click on console, what do you know? We get that same image. We even get a little example display. But yeah, so then I just declare function like we're used to doing. I give it whatever name I want. Whatever, dude. All you need to do is make sure that these names match. Same thing. And then, of course, the script tag, make sure that you're actually referencing the JavaScript file that is responsible for that functionality. So in this instance, they're in the same directory, but if I had, you know, this is not the right one. I will actually just do this real quick. Test. If I just move this into here, move, all I would need to do, come over here, source, dot, /test, see how it auto-completes, example.js. So now once again I'm referencing the same page, and it works exactly the same way even though I created a new folder that no longer has that file there. So I'm saying go to this directory, boop, and grab this file. Same thing as what's over here. And that's done. That's all you guys need to do really as far as JavaScript is concerned, is just make it, of course, I encourage you guys to experiment and try to get as much JavaScript functionality on your page as possible, but as far as like passing this course and fulfilling the criteria that Melissa has sent me, that's all you need is a single DOM function or element that changes a single thing. That does not show in your HTML. Again, I'm not doing this in HTML. I'm saying go to this JavaScript file, and then when I click on this button, I just want you to run this function.